Alrighty guys, welcome to the video here today for Thursday, December 15th, 2022. Of course, my name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please feel free to go ahead and give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. You have no idea how much that like button helps out the channel. It kind of like spikes the algorithm so more people can find me. A lot of power in that thumbs up. And of course, if you want to connect with me on a daily basis, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. Hey, let's become friends. Anyway, if you want to see which one of these free picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about signing up for my board member tier package on my website. Board members get access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. I currently have over 565 members who are signed up and active on that website right now. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some shout outs. Shout out to Brandon Lee, who said, "You were hot yesterday." Thanks, brother. Shout out to George Moolah, who said, "We need more winners." And finally, shout out to Jake Chevalier, who said, "Keep it up, King." And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some Thursday night football. We're going to take a look at the Niners at the Seahawks, 8:15 Eastern kickoff. San Francisco's -3 on the road, totals 43. And speaking of that total, the Niners did see 5 out of their last 7 get over the number. Overs against the likes of the Buccaneers, Dolphins, and Cardinals. And in these two teams' last 10 head-to-head meetings, well, these teams saw overs in 70% of those contests. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. Now, Seattle on the other side, they saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves, 7-3 to the over in their last 10. When it comes to the injury report, Woods, Neal, Dallas, Brown, and Blunt, they're all listed as questionable for Seattle. Meanwhile, for San Francisco, Hyder, Thomas, and Purdy are questionable. Womack, Moore, and Ridgeway, they are out. Now, weather-wise, clear and cold, 34 degrees by game time with little to no wind. When it comes to selecting a winner in this one, this game's being featured as one of my NFL tier package bets for Week 15 on my website. So if you want to see whether I like the Seahawks catching a field goal at home or if I like San Fran laying 3 points on the road, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up for my NFL tier package bets on my website. And I'll include a link for that play in the description section below. And just a reminder, guys, if you sign up for that package, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus here, guys, you're also going to get access to all my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. But as far as making a free pick is concerned, I'm going to lean toward the over 43 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some NBA action. We're going to start off with the Heat at the Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami's -4, totals 218.5. But despite being favored on the road here, the Heat's really struggled away from South Beach. Out of 14 road games this season, the Heat got the W in just 35% of those contests. They've also had significant problems on offense this year. They're scoring a league-worst 107 points a game. They're actually tied with the Clippers for fewest points per contest. Now, they're facing a Houston club who actually has a winning record at home. And in addition to that, they do a nice job covering the point spread there. Out of 11 contests this year at the Toyota Center, the Rockets covered the number in 73% of those games. Jalen Green's averaging over 21.5 points a game. Kevin Porter's also scoring 18 points a night himself. And when it comes to rebounding the basketball, there's not many teams who do it better than Houston. These guys are leading the NBA in home offensive boards. When it comes to the injury report, Jayshawn Tate is still out for the Rockets. Meanwhile, for the Heat on the other side, Yurtseven's still out. Vincent is questionable. When it comes to the total, Miami's 10-4 to the under while traveling this year. Meanwhile, Houston went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to lean toward the Rockets +4 under 218.5. Next ball game should be a good one. I'm talking about the Bucks at the Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Memphis is -2 at home, totals 226. And speaking of the total in this one, the Grizzlies have seen their fair share of unders recently. 3 out of their last 4 ball games stayed under the total. They're also 8-6 of the under this year in their own building. Now the Bucks on the other side, they've gone a staggering 10-1 to the under in all of their road games. When it comes to the injury report, Holiday's out, Beauchamp's questionable. Meanwhile for Memphis, Danny Green is out, Vince Williams is questionable for them. When it comes to selecting a winner in this one, this game's being featured as my board member tier package bet on my website. So if you want to see whether I like the Grizzlies in front of their own fans, or if I like the Bucks catching a bucket away from home, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up for my board member tier package bet on my website. And once again, guys, I'll include a link for that play in the description section below. But as far as making a free pick is concerned, I'm going to lean toward the under 226 in that contest. Next ball game, another one should be a good one. Actually, this entire slate should be pretty competitive here tonight. For those who don't have Amazon Prime and you're not watching football, plenty of really good NBA action. This next game, it's going to be Pelicans at the Jazz, 9 o'clock East. New Orleans is -2, totals 232. Now, the Pels just got smoked by Utah just last night. They lost by 21 points, and they barely scored 100 in the game. And as good as they've been, well, the Pels are playing just .500 basketball on the road. Now, New Orleans has had a tough time getting the offense going on the road this year. They're in the bottom 10 in first quarter scoring away from home. And even worse than that, they're in the bottom 5 in second quarter scoring while traveling as well. Really doing a bad job getting on the board in the first half. Now, they're facing a Utah team who's 10-5 straight up in their own building. And they do a great job defending the three-pointers. These guys have the second lowest defensive three-point percentage in the NBA. And of course, when it comes to offensive production, Lauri Markkanen's averaging a team-best 22 points a game. He's also drilling nearly 41% of his three-pointers, while Kelly Olynyk's draining 44% of his three balls. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Utah averages 121 points a game at the Vivint Arena. Now, injury-wise, Colin Sexton's still out for Utah. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, Ingram, Alvarado, and Liddell, they are out for them. When it comes to the total, New Orleans has gone 67% to the over in their travels. Meanwhile, Utah saw overs against the likes of Golden State, Indiana, and the Clippers. I'm going to lean toward Utah +2 over 232. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup in the NBA. I'm talking about the Suns at the Clippers, 10:30 Eastern start time. LA's -2, totals 218. And in addition to winning their last 3 straight, you simply can't score in the Clips. These guys are allowing just 106 points a game in their own building. They're also limiting their competition to just 32% shooting from three-land in the Crypto Center. Now, scoring-wise, Paul George is averaging 23.5 points a game, along with 6 boards. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard's averaging over 13.5 points a game himself. Now, they're facing a Phoenix team who lost their last 5 straight, and they have a terrible time getting the W on the road. Out of 13 contests away from the desert this year, the Suns got the W only 4 times. And oddly enough, the Suns' biggest problem on the road has been their defense. They're in the bottom 10 in defending the field goal while traveling. They're also allowing more fourth quarter points on the road than most clubs in the West. Now, injury-wise, the leading scorer, Devin Booker, is questionable with a hammy. DeAndre Ayton, he's also questionable with an ankle. Also, Crowder, Payne, and Johnson and Washington, they're all still out for Phoenix. Meanwhile, for the Suns, Wall, Powell, and Zubac are questionable for them. When it comes to the total, LA's a staggering 13-2 to the under in their own arena. Meanwhile, the Suns saw unders against the likes of Houston, Boston, and San Antonio. I'm going to lean toward the Clippers, -2, under 218. And with that, we're going to jump into some college basketball. We'll start off with Elon at Presbyterian, 12 o'clock Eastern start time. Presbyterian's minus 4.5, totals 131 and a hook. And as bad as Presbyterian has been this year, they did get the W in 2 out of their last 3 at home. When it comes to defensive play, they're allowing only 68 points per contest. Now offensively, Winston Hill and Crosby James, they're averaging double-digit points per contest. And for those who don't know, the mascot for Presbyterian is the Blue Hose. A hose that is blue, the Blue Hose. I don't understand. If you can give me any context for that nickname, let me know in the comments. But anyway, the Blue Hose, they're facing an Elon team who lost 8 out of their last 9. They're also giving up over 74 points a game defensively. They're one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the country. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Elon's last 5 did stay under the line. The Blue Hose, on the other side, they went 4-1 to the under in their last 5 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Presbyterian, minus 4.5, under 131 and a hook. Next contest, Lehigh, Wisconsin, 7 o'clock East. Wisconsin's minus 23, totals 133. But for a team laying 23 points here, the Badgers haven't been crisp on offense. For one, they're shooting just 41% from the field. When it comes to the scoring, the Badgers are averaging only 67 points a game. They're facing a Lehigh team who's limiting their competition to just 30% shooting from three-land. When it comes to offensive production, Evan Taylor is scoring 13.5 points a night, and he's making 44% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Tyler Whitney-Sydney is making over 47% of his three-pointers himself. When it comes to the total, the Mountain Hawks saw 4 out of their last 6 stay under the number. Meanwhile, Wisconsin saw unders against the likes of Maryland, USC, and Dayton. I'm going to lean toward Lehigh plus 23, under 133. Next ball game, Chattanooga, Middle Tennessee, 7 o'clock East. Middle Tennessee State's minus 6, totals 138. Despite being favored by a couple of buckets, the Blue Raiders have been little threat shooting from beyond the arc. Middle Tennessee's making over 29% of their three-pointers. They're also one of the worst foul shooting teams in the game. They're facing a Chattanooga team who does a real nice job on defense themselves. These guys are holding their competition to just 39% shooting from the field. When it comes to offensive production, this team's dropping nearly 40% of their three-pointers, and they rank in the top 30 in scoring. Jake Stevens, 21 points a night, ranks 11th in the entire country. Now, the 7-foot senior is also averaging 9.5 rebounds a night. He's making 45% of his three-pointers. Not much the big man can't do. Meanwhile, Dalvin White is drilling nearly 55% of his three-pointers himself. When it comes to the total, the Mocs saw their last 3 straight get over the line. Meanwhile, Middle Tennessee on the other side, they went 4-0 to the over in their last 4. I'm going to lean toward Chattanooga plus 6, over 138. Next ball game, don't think it's on our big screen, but it is going to be Stony Brook taking on Wagner, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Wagner's minus 6.5 at home, totals 129 and a hook. Now, I do actually hate this number here for Wagner backers, but they have played some pretty good defense this year. The Seahawks are limiting their opponents to just 41% shooting from the field. They're also allowing only 67 points a game. Delani Hunt, he's averaging nearly 11 points a night for Wagner. Meanwhile, Ramir Moore, he's averaging over 10.5 points a game himself. They're facing a Stony Brook team who really struggles to get to the basket. They're scoring only 64 points a game, and they have one of the lower field goal percentages in the conference. Now, total-wise, Stony Brook went 5-1 to the under in their last 6. No real shocker there. Meanwhile, Wagner saw 4 out of their last 6 stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Wagner, minus 6.5, under 129 and a hook. Next contest, it is going to be Louisiana squaring off against McNeese State, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns, they are minus 12.5, totals 139. Now, the Cajuns should be able to take care of business away from home here. They've been on a terror on the offensive end of the court. These guys are in the top 15 in the country in scoring and field goal percentage. And no real surprise here, these guys are drilling nearly 41% of their three-pointers as a team. Kentrell Garnett's knocking down 51% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Jordan Brown's averaging over 19.5 points a game himself. He's in the top 25 in the country in points. Now they're facing a McNeese team who allows 73 points a night. They have one of the highest defensive field goal percentages in the country. When it comes to offensive production, well, not many teams score fewer points a game than McNeese. The Cowboys are averaging only 63 points a game. Now, total-wise, McNeese did see overs against the likes of Tennessee Martin and Western Carolina. Meanwhile, Louisiana went 4-2 to the over in their last six qualifying ball games themselves. I'm going to lean toward Louisiana minus 12.5, over 139. Next contest, it is on our big screen. It is going to be Southeastern Louisiana taking on Nicholls State, 8 o'clock East. Nicholls is minus 7, totals 156. Now, Nicholls should be able to get the job done here. They've been really good on offense this year. The Colonels are averaging nearly 80 points a game. They're led by Latrell Jones, who's averaging nearly 16 points a night. Meanwhile, Micah Thomas is drilling 40% of his three-pointers. He's also making 93% of his foul shots. You can't put Thomas on the line. He's going to make you pay. Now, they're facing a Southeast Louisiana team who plays little to no defense themselves. They allow 76 points per contest, and they leave the three-pointer wide open. When it comes to rebounding, this is one of the worst teams in the country at grabbing boards on both ends. Now, total-wise, the Lions saw their last 4 straight get over the total. Meanwhile, Nicholls saw overs against the likes of Texas Tech, BYU, and Arizona. I'm going to lean toward Nicholls State, minus 7, over 156. Next contest, it is going to be North Alabama taking on Colorado, 8:30 p.m. East. The Buffs are minus 22.5, totals 147 and a hook. Now, Colorado's not been a great covering team here lately. They failed to cover in 4 out of their last 5. They're one of the worst foul shooting teams in the game. These guys are making just 64% of their attempts from the stripe. They're also facing a North Alabama team who's one of the better shooting teams in the country. These guys are making nearly 50% of their field goals as a team. They're also averaging 79 points a game. Daniel Ortiz is the team's leading scorer, and he's shooting over 46.5% from three-land. Meanwhile, Damian Forrest and KJ Johnson, they average double-digit points a game, respectively. When it comes to the total, North Alabama is 75% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, Colorado saw overs against the likes of Colorado State, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. I'm going to lean toward North Alabama plus 22.5, over 147 and a hook. Next matchup, UC-Irvine taking on Santa Clara, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Santa Clara is minus 1.5, totals 145. And even though they're favored at home here, Santa Clara is one of the worst shooting teams in their conference. These guys are making only 41% of their shots from the field. They're also making under 33% of their three-pointers. They're facing a UC-Irvine team who really plays some tough defense. They're limiting their competition to just 38% shooting from the field themselves. They're also holding their opponents to just 28% shooting from downtown. DJ Davis, he's scoring over 16 points a game offensively for the Anteaters. 45% shooting from beyond the arc as well for Davis. Meanwhile, teammate Justin Hone, he's drilling just about 47% of his shots from long range. And no real surprise here, guys. The Anteaters are in the top 10 in the nation in shooting from beyond the arc. Now, total-wise, UCI saw their last 4 straight get over the number. Meanwhile, Santa Clara saw overs against the likes of Wyoming, Iona, and Utah State. I'm going to lean toward UC-Irvine plus 1.5, over 145. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be Seattle at Oregon State, 10:30 Eastern tip-off. Seattle's the 2-point favorite on the road here. Total's 136.5. Now, the one-loss Seattle Redhawks, they've been really explosive on offense this year. They're a top 25 scoring team in the nation, and they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. Cam Tyson's averaging over 23.5 points a game. He's actually 5th in the country in scoring. And no real surprise here, guys. Cam's knocking down 41% of his long-range shots. Riley Grigsby, he's averaging just about a dozen points a night himself. They're facing an Oregon State team who lost 6 out of their last 7. They also do a poor job getting to the hoop. These guys are averaging only 65 points a game. And they're arguably the worst offensive rebounding team in the Pac-12. Now, total-wise, the Beavs saw their last 3 straight stay under the number, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. Meanwhile, Seattle saw unders against the likes of Cal State Fullerton, Portland, and Portland State. I'm going to lean towards Seattle -2, under 136.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into some NHL action. We'll start off with the Leafs at the Rangers, 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Now, Toronto's -1.25, total 6 goals. Matt Murray expected in the net here for the Leafs. Igor Shesterkin probable for New York. And as good as Igor has been, both teams have problem areas that definitely concern me. For one, we'll start with the Rangers. They play their worst hockey at Madison Square Garden. Meanwhile, the Leafs on the other side, they really tend to shut it down offensively late in games. These guys are in the bottom 10 in third period scoring on the road. Now, injury-wise, Yarncroke's still out for the Leafs. Engvall is questionable. When it comes to the total, Toronto saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the number. Meanwhile, New York saw unders against the likes of Colorado, Ottawa, and Anaheim. When it comes to selecting a winner in this one, this game's being featured as my extra daily bet on my website, and that play costs just $2.99. Just a reminder, guys, if you sign up for that package here today, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus here, guys, you're also going to get access to my daily best play absolutely free. It's going to be included with your purchase. But as far as making a free pick is concerned with that contest, I'm going to lean toward the under 6 goals in that game. Next matchup, Stars, Caps, 7 o'clock East. Dallas is -1.15 on the road, total 6. Jake Oettinger for Dallas, Charlie Lindgren for Washington. Despite some great starts out of Charlie this year, the Caps have had some difficulties on offense. For one, they're in the bottom 10 in the league in offensive shots on goal at home. They also start off very slow offensively. They're in the bottom 3 in the league in first period goals at home. Now they're going up against Jake Oettinger, who's been he's having a real good start to the year. He's got 11 wins in the crease here, along with a .916 save percentage. And no real shock here, guys. The Stars are allowing just 2.6 goals a game on the road. Now, when it comes to offensive production, not many teams are scoring more goals a game than Dallas. Jason Robertson's 2nd in the league in goals, 4th in the league in points. Meanwhile, Rupa Hintz, his 34 points, ranks in the top 15 in the league as well. Now, injury-wise, the Stars are mostly healthy at the moment. Meanwhile, for Washington, Brown's still out. Eller's questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Washington's 9-4 to the under on their home ice. Meanwhile, Dallas has gone 67% to the under in their travels. I'm going to lean toward the Stars, -1.15, under 6. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It is going to be Blues at the Oilers, 9 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Edmonton's the $1.65 favorite, total 6.5. Stu Skinner for Edmonton, Jordan Binnington for St. Louis. Now, Jordy's having a rough start to the year. He's got double-digit losses with a goals against average in the 3s. Benny's also got himself a save percentage of just .894. No real surprise here, guys. The Blues are in the bottom 5 in the league in road goals allowed. Now, they're facing an Edmonton squad who does nothing but score goals themselves. They're in the top 3 in the league in home goals per contest. Connor McDavid's leading the NHL in goals, assists, and points. Meanwhile, Leon Draisaitl's right behind him in points with 51 of them. When it comes to defensive play, netminder Stu Skinner, he's been more than serviceable. He's got a goals against average in the 2s, along with a .919 save percentage. I'd say not only has been more than serviceable. He's been downright good. Now, total-wise, Edmonton's 12-4 to the over at Rogers Place. Meanwhile, the Blues are 10-5 to the over while traveling this year. I'm going to lean toward Edmonton minus 165, over 6.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, and I'm going to start off in the NFL. I like the over 43 in the Niners-Seattle game, and diving into the NBA. I like Houston +4, under 218.5. Give me the under 226 in the Bucks-Grizzlies game. I like Utah +2, over 232. And with my next and final NBA pick, I like the Clippers -2, under 218. With that, let's dive into some college basketball. Give me Presbyterian -4.5, under 131.5. I like Lehigh +23, under 133. Chattanooga +6, over 138. Wagner -6.5, under 129.5. Louisiana -12.5, over 139. Nicholls State -7, over 156. North Alabama +22.5, over 147.5. UC Irvine +1.5, over 145. With my next and final college basketball pick, give me Seattle -2, under 136.5. And with that, we're going to jump into some NHL action. I like Montreal -160, over 6. Tampa Bay -1.5, over 6.5. Dallas -115, under 6. Boston -1.5, over 6 goals. New Jersey -1.5, over 6. Florida -115, over 6.5. Seattle +1.5, over 6. I like the under 6 goals in the Toronto-New York Rangers game. Give me Winnipeg -160, under 6. Vegas -1.5, over 6.5. Buffalo +1.5, over 6.5. With my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Edmonton -165, over 6.5.